let's just start with something that is of interest to me always, is how does a person transition, in this case you, into writing novels from a life where you weren't doing that?
It took a long time. I was a cricket author back in the late 70s, and things that turned out as chapters in books later, I originally published as freestanding short stories in cricket. And during that time, one of the cricket editors said to me, "This should be a book." That's wonderful to hear. You think, oh yeah, this should be a book. But I started out writing short. I've been a guitar player all my life, and the first things I wrote were songs, where you do the whole plot turn, 16 lines and a chorus or whatever. And so the idea of going from a short story to a novel, frankly, baffled me it was 20 years from the time the editor said, this should be a book, until it was a book. So the question is, how did I get from the one spot to the other? And it's interesting to me anyway. I had been teaching. I taught junior high and taught at Olympic at night. I wanted to write. I had taught for 10 years, and I just wanted to write, and frankly, I didn't care what I wrote in those days. I wanted to be paid. I wanted to make a living as a writer, and so I ended up at Eddie Bauer. I quit teaching, and I got hired there on the strength of some newspaper features and my fiction. The editor there said, "I can see that you can write, and I'll try you. I'll take a chance." And so I started out writing catalog. And why this is important is that you come in day after day, and I ended up doing this at Eddie Bauer and other advertising agencies for 10 or 12 years, and you come in every day to an empty piece of paper or an empty screen, and you sit down and you start writing. And it doesn't matter if you stayed up late, and it doesn't matter if you're not feeling well, and it doesn't matter if you don't like the product particularly. You fill the page. You do something that your editor says, yeah, okay, this will work, and they give you a check. And the beauty is, later on when you're working for yourself, and actually I had a chance to interview Aaron Elkins years ago, and the question you always ask writers is, what about inspiration? And he said, well, I get inspired every morning at 9. And so that, with the writing muscle that I built up doing advertising, has worked well for me. I come down every morning between about 6 and 6:30, sit down in the chair, and even if I didn't know what I was going to write when I was at the top of the stairs, my fingers know by the time I get set down with a cup of coffee and start to type.